In Iowa, Ted Cruz sneered at our New York values.
I think most people know exactly what New York values are.
And I got to say, they're not Iowa values and they're not New Hampshire values.
Everyone understands that the values in New York City focus around money and the media.
I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York.
The people of New York know exactly what those values are. They're the values of liberal Democratic politicians like Andrew Cuomo, like Anthony Weiner, like Eliot Spitzer. If you want to know what liberal Democratic values are, follow Donald Trump's checkbook.
Well, New York values and 2 ads, and then you hear Senator Cruz's response. This, as a new Associated Press poll is out. This is nationally now. Take a look at this. Favorability ratings, first of all. And there you see Hillary Clinton and unfavorable. And Cruz and Trump and their high numbers there, 26-59, 26-69. Take a look at this. Hillary Clinton voter certainty would definitely vote for. This is national again. And these are voters, 1,076 polled. Would definitely not vote for, 49%. Take a look at Ted Cruz. That number going up, definitely not vote for, 55%. And Donald Trump would definitely vote for, 16%. Would definitely not vote would not vote for, 63%. This is the background nationally you're looking at. Meanwhile, the battle now is in New York, where Trump is up big, at least according to the recent polls. Let's bring in our panel. Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. You know, this is nationally, Mara, but it is still striking to see these candidates with the unfavorable.
We have never seen a worse hold-your-nose election than this one is shaping up to be. I mean, it's really extraordinary. We've never had candidates with as high negatives as these people have. And, you know, for the Republicans, it's kind of pick your poison. Do you want somebody within the 50s or in the 60s? But the election will be a choice. And I don't know who it was who first said, please compare me to the alternative, not to the almighty. And that's what people are going to have to decide, you know, which is the lesser of two evils.
You know, on the Republican side, Judge, you have Ted Cruz, who's fighting this likability factor. And the cover of Time magazine this week is Ted Cruz, likable enough? Question mark. And it's interesting.
You know, it has dogged him, and if you're in a room with him, you are overwhelmed by his intelligence, but you understand why people say, is he likable? He's not a backslapper, he's not a hugger, he's not a Bill Clinton. He doesn't make you leave the room loving him. You certainly leave the room impressed by his intelligence. But like what Mara said, these numbers will all change when it's 1 against 1, when there is not the level of comparison that we have. Whoever the 1 and 1 are, I think the definitely won't vote numbers will go way down, and people will devolve more into the, does this person represent my issues, then do I want this person as my next door neighbor?
Trump clearly, Charles, has the advantage in New York, his home state. He is up big now, and the question is whether he gets over 50% in New York. Here's Rudy Giuliani from the New York Post. I support Trump. I'm going to vote for Trump. I know Ted Cruz was attacking liberal democratic values. I know I fought to change those policies in areas like welfare reform and policing, as did Mike Bloomberg. There was a better way to say it.
This is an important endorsement, whether he calls it an endorsement or not. I think he says it's not. But if you say I like it,
he says it's not an endorsement, but he's going to vote for it. But isn't that an endorsement?
It's like Lindsey Graham, who said he's also not endorsing Cruz when he went out and he raised the money for him, and then he said he'd like to kill him, which is an interesting, you know, I mean, this is sort of the essence of the insanity of this campaign. You've got people who are really holding their noses. But with Giuliani, you get the feeling that he's sort of sincere in this, and he's relatively unreserved. Look, he is a folk hero in New York, was at the time a folk hero in the country, and I think that's going to help to soften the image for Trump. The other thing is that Cruz is really extremely defensive. He doesn't even have a chance to talk about his issues in New York. He's got to defend the New York value stuff, which was an enormous mistake. It didn't really help him in Iowa. He could have done it without that phrase. And now how does he defend it? He can't. And I think because he's talking only about that, I think his numbers are going to stay very low here.
And the tabloids in New York are having a blast with this race because Well, it's just not been in New York
No,
before.
and I bet Ted Cruz didn't think he'd have to go all the way to New York. But here he is, and that tabloid headline, "Take the FU train, Ted." I mean, that's priceless. That goes into the tabloid Hall of Fame.
It's cable.
Just say what I thought you
It's
just
cable. We'll just move on. Moving on to Democrats.
quoting the Daily
Yeah, I know. All right.
I tried that, Mara. The quotation marks doesn't help.
Mara always brings the heat on the panel. Okay, let's go to the Democrats. Bernie Sanders defending his attack on Hillary Clinton, saying that she's not qualified to be president.
When you have headlines in the Washington Post, quote, "Clinton questions whether Sanders is qualified to be president," my response is, well, you know, if you want to question my qualifications, let me suggest this, that maybe the American people might wonder about your qualifications, Madam Secretary, when you voted for the war in Iraq.
So, Judge, the gloves are coming off on the Democratic side.
It's about time the gloves came up. I think unqualified is not really the right word here. And I'm waiting for Senator Sanders to go where he said he wouldn't go when he said, "I don't care about your damn emails." Well, her damn emails are a very, very serious issue to many people on both sides of the aisle. And I think Democrats are beginning to recognize that they could have a very serious problem with her, because some of them are saying the Justice Department should apply a different standard for her because she may be the nominee. New York is ground zero. Bernie is from New York. Hillary represented New York. I think he's going to do a lot. She's going to win, but I think he's going to do a lot better than she would like to see him do.
Charles.
The idea that this is sort of, we're at a level of vitriol here on the Democratic side is preposterous. This is, you know, brass knuckles argument compared to what we've seen in 6 months with the Republicans. Here, these two people on the Democratic side are arguing over qualifications. On the Republican side, they were arguing over, shall we say, equipment. I mean, this is a wholly different category.
I've lost complete control of this panel.
Well, I didn't.
Lost complete control.
I didn't chicken out and put it in quote marks. Look, I mean, there's just no comparison. Low energy, lion, what is it, lion's head, and all the personal insults and attacking people's wives and their looks. No, this is, I think, on the Democratic side, it remains a genteel debate. But by people who really are not that far apart ideologically, who are looking for differences that they can exaggerate and argue about.
But bottom line, Mara, the Clinton campaign is worried about Bernie Sanders.
Yes. And the Clinton campaign is worried on a couple levels. One is, can he beat her in a state like New York or come extremely close, which would embarrass her terribly, and it would be a big psychological blow. But the other issue is, how does Bernie Sanders continue to campaign? He has the money to stay until the convention. But does he campaign in a way that starts attacking her character? As the judge suggested, does he go after her honesty and trustworthiness, which are her biggest weak points? He seemed to start in that direction with this unqualified tack. Or does he do something that would make it easier for the party to unify after the convention and bring his voters into the fold? That's the thing Democrats are worried about.
We're watching both.